Hi, this is Raj. Now, you've seen so many of my videos now, and you might be thinking, then how do we condition people to do the right things? How do we get people aligned? Now, a long time ago, there was this guy called Pavlov, and he had a couple of dogs. Before I give the message away, let's watch this video.
Pavlov's aim was to discover what caused saliva to flow. He rerouted the salivary ducts to the outside of his dog's cheek so that he could collect and measure the spittle. Perhaps he thought the production of saliva might be the result of a fixed nervous reflex, like a knee jerk.
5 минут 42,5 секунды.
After taking many measurements of spittle, he confirmed that the dogs drooled automatically when their tongues touched food. He called the response the salivation reflex.
4,5. Хорошая собачка. Я предлагаю поменять собаку.
But his work started to run into trouble. As his dogs became familiar with the experimental routine, they started to fill their cheek tubes before Pavlov had a chance to stimulate their tongues. The dogs were learning to anticipate food. Pavlov tried a new technique. He erected screens so that the dogs couldn't see what was going on. Before passing meat through the hatch, he introduced a stimulus that was totally unrelated to feeding. A ticking metronome. At first, the dog dripped saliva into its cheek tube only when the food appeared. But after a number of trials, the dog began to connect the ticking with the arrival of meat. Soon, the sound alone made the dog drool. Eventually, the dog salivated as much to the ticking itself as it did originally to the presentation of food.
Полная. Идите сюда. Что я говорил?
He called this new response the conditioned reflex.
Собака.
Whatever the stimulus, his dogs could soon be conditioned to produce saliva. Pavlov believed that he had discovered how animals learned, even in the wild.
So you saw that, right? Conditioning can be done. If you reward people and then link it to a treat, you reward people and link it to a behavior and over time this becomes part of the norm. Now, just like on sites, when you first tell people how to do the right things, or you might want to ring a bell or give them a sweet, but you can tell them to do the right things in terms of safety, in terms of helmets, glasses, reward them even for the small things until it becomes a norm. Or when you're coming up with a new regulation, a new requirement, something new that people don't know yet, every time you see something good, reward them. Then they get conditioned that this is the right behavior. Now, this is positive conditioning. It's classical conditioning. It can be applied to safety, it can be applied to work, because humans like praise. They like rewards. They like taps on the shoulder and saying, good job. Then they know that I'm doing a good job. This is good. I will continue to do more of this. It's a lot easier than guesswork, because a lot of times managers, supervisors, leaders miss out one very critical part. They don't tell people what they're doing right. And that's very, very important. You can tell people what they're doing wrong and correct it, but you need to tell people what they're doing right. And then praise them and give them a reward. And money is not the option. A praise will do. A good job will do. Look at McDonald's, right? Best employee of the month. It's recognition. People strive for that. So it's time for you to go and condition your people. Thinking, this is Raj.